Right, welcome back to the program, and thank you so much for according us your time this morning. We're having a conversation revolving around women empowerment and the journey in the history of our country in terms of women empowerment and this whole conversation about affirmative action. Earlier on, before we took the break, I was engaging two amazing women in studio, the Professor Margaret KOBIA, the CS of the Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender Affairs, and of course Mama PHOEBE ASIYO, a very, very passionate women rights activist. And I told you we were expecting a third person on the panel this morning. Her name is Honorable Eve OBARA. She's the Member of Parliament of Kabondo Kasipul constituency. Thank you so much. She's here with us this morning. And just allow me bring her into the conversation. You have a very strong, passion for women and girls, and I want you to tell me a bit about how you describe our country in terms of our commitment to achieving gender equality. How would you describe Kenya? How far have we gone?
Thank you very much, Madam Achie. We started off very well as a country. Remember that we had the first woman MP with Mama Grace Onyango. And then soon after we had Mama PHOEBE ASIYO and Grace Ogot. After that, there was a lull, a complete lull, when there was hardly any other woman in the political sphere. Soon after the new constitution, or slightly before then, we had a few others. We had Mama Ngilu, we had Wangari Maathai, and we also had Martha Karua coming in.
Yes.
And that was how it was. It was bad because within the region of East Africa, we were way ahead of every other country. But soon after, we were overtaken by Rwanda, we were overtaken by Tanzania, and even Uganda. And Kenya, that was actually the trailblazer in terms of women being in politics, was not there. And I want to say that with the new constitution, I think that made a lot of difference. Now we can see a lot more women in the as a single constituency where we are competing with everybody else. There are 23 women now. We were actually 24, and we are now 23 because one died. We lost one lady early this year. And we also have the 47 women, and we have 3 senators, and we also have how many are they, governors? We have
about 4.
Three governors, So we are doing not too badly now. We have picked up, and I believe that going forward as a country, the sky is the lower limit, because the women who are now within the political sphere are doing very well. And Kenya as a society, I think that is what was lacking, that because we were not there, so they were not really able to assess the performance of women in general. But now, with all these women as governors, they will be able to assess the performance of women as governors. As senators, we have seen even what they are doing now. The 3 elected and even the ones nominated, they are already performing very well. And you come to the National Assembly, again, that again is evident that the women are doing well and performing. And within the constituency, they are also doing very well. So I think as a country, it's looking good. At least
taking steps.
It's making steps, and it's looking good.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm actually looking at the two of you seated there, and I'm seeing sort of a coin. On one side, we have them that led before, them that have something to share with young leaders, upcoming leaders like yourself. And then in between this coin, we have now the circumstances and the challenges and the opportunities that we need to be looking at. And that's why we're having this conversation, just to sort of bridge the gap between, the women that made it before and the women who are trying to come into these spaces. What is it that they can be able to do different to be like the likes of Mama PHOEBE ASIYO? But then I'll come back to you in a bit. Professor, tell me how the government has played its role in all this. Kenya has been celebrated as one of the countries, in as much as Mheshimiwa is sharing that we're still struggling, but still we have a good name globally in terms of our commitment to gender equality and empowerment. We still have a very good name. What is it that you think we have done or the government has done to be able to give us that particular name? What are some of the things or programs that we have been able to do that would term as a success on that issue?
Thank you very much, Achien. I think I would like to say on Thursday, the 23rd of August, we are going to have two main events in one. One, we will be launching PHOEBE ASIYO's book that says it is possible, which becomes a very rich resource for any woman who aspires to lead. And we are also going to celebrate the Kenyan women trailblazers because they provide us as a role model things that we need women could not achieve, they have achieved. We are also looking at it that it is women, if women are empowered, their contribution could be very significant in development of this country. Coming on the 23rd, around 10 a.m., we are hoping maybe we'll be airing this so that even those women who are away can be able to watch and gain some lessons on how they can participate in becoming women who are empowered. But let me come back to the ministry, what we are doing. I think you can see, as you have said, anytime we have participated in the UN, Kenya is recognized for making really groundbreaking efforts in empowering women. And for that reason at home, the ministry responsible for gender affairs has been really championing and supporting women, equality and women empowerment, and we work in 5 streams. One, we look at, within the ministry and the Department of Gender, we look at women in leadership and decision making as one main pillar. And here we try to provide opportunities for capacity development, to give women confidence, and we always, when it comes to decision making, we are also looking at the women at parliament because this is where major decisions are made, and we provide kind of programs and curriculum that can build women so that they can want to come up to take up leadership roles. To us, that is one where the voice of a woman can be heard, and also that diversity makes decisions better at whatever level, at that senior level. We have also looked at women empowerment economically, and this is where the government has come with Women Enterprise Fund, where we facilitate by giving them loans, because we believe if there's any empowerment to be given to a woman, economic empowerment is the central one.
Yeah.
Because if a woman is economically empowered, her children will go to school, her children will have a meal, and they'll enjoy better healthy facilities. So we appeal to women to come out, form small groups, go to Women Enterprise Fund, ask for these loans which are quite low interest, go to some small business, and also we also encourage them to go into circles, and as a circle you can also get some loans that can empower you and do something economically. So we find that any woman who is empowered also even want to vie for a position because they have the resources. Another area we look is also women in peace and security building. It's another pillar we say it's only women who have the information where there could be conflict, therefore they can give so that the administration can follow through. And there's also women and the children who suffer when we are not enjoying peace.
So
it erodes the
So women have
many.
a very important position at
A
the
very
peace
important
table.
position in terms of supporting peace and security. Then we look at the gender-based violence. To us, that is very important because we look at the program that supports and build capacity for women to identify when are they prone for gender-based violence. We also kind of give sensitization to know when they should not stand in a situation which is abusive. And also, we also try to educate and work with the administrators so that they can be able to support women when it comes to sexual and gender-based violence. That is something that really affects a lot of women, not only in Kenya, and we have our own stream that deals with how do we build capacity to eliminate sexual and gender-based violence. We are also working within the government, is always looking at gender budgeting, planning and budgeting, that we always want to see in a ministry how much has been assigned for gender mainstreaming. That means that it gives importance. If you are budgeted for it and have given a significant budget, then it means it is important. Therefore, I think what the government has done to empower women is more than we have done in the last 10 years. Therefore, women need to come out to be very clear what do they want. And I think that's why we are celebrating on Thursday the women trailblazers, women who have contributed in this country, because they provide a good picture of a role model. So the rest of the women need to look at these trailblazers. What is it they did differently
and learn from
them to make this significant contribution that they are recognized on this Thursday on 23rd.
It will be at State House?
It will be at State House.
The
President will be launching. We are expecting quite a number of guests, about 300. But the most important is for women to learn and also for the general population to recognize the gains made by these trailblazers and what the government is doing in providing that conducive environment for women to make a significant difference. Okay. But I would like to appeal to women not to sit back. They should always go and find what would it take to make me a better leader. What would it take to make me a more economically empowered woman so that they can be able first to support myself, my family, the community, and of course the Kenyan government always understands where women are empowered, communities prosper. Where women are kind of are not supported, communities suffer.
Do not succeed.
So with that alone, I think every effort we are noticing that there are a lot of gains. And let's also women and the Kenyan population talk more of the positive things that are happening rather than the negative things that are happening in women empowerment and gender equality.
All right, so
there
we need
is
to
many gains. We should talk. That's why we're having this day, so that we can share the good things that are happening,
the positive side of this
and
story,
also see what needs to be improved.
Okay,
yeah.
I like that strategy. Let's talk about women in leadership. Let's talk politics, and I'll start with you, Mheshimiwa. Prior to you becoming a member of parliament, you were the managing director of KLB, Kenya Leadership Group.
Yes.
And you know, why should we? The question I want to ask you is, why is it important for us to have women leaders? What motivated you, let's use you as an example, to decide to serve the public in that different capacity? Why should women look at leadership and find it important to be part of?
As my able minister has said, that having women look at things differently. And in any environment, it's good to have both the male and the female in decision making. Why did I join politics after being in the corporate world?
Because you were still serving, and
I
still
was.
You were taking part in projects in your community.
Yes, I was.
So that shift, what motivated it, and what is it that you find is giving you satisfaction as a woman leader? You say, this is my place, this is what I want to do for my people.
Thank you very much. But what I can say now is that the new constitution gave opportunities to women to be able to do something and be seen.
Yes.
And here we are with that there were so many positions, like it was possible to get an MCA, it was possible to be an MP, and it was possible to be a governor and even a senator. From 2013, we were able to see that despite all these opportunities, Kenyans were not electing women. They were not electing women to those positions. Like, there were very, very few. Again, in the National Assembly, as I said, elected were only 15.
15, yeah.
15 only out of 290 constituencies. And in the Senate, there was nothing. In the governorship, there was no woman.
No woman.
And here we were. We had actually made a mark as corporate leaders. I was a managing director, a successful managing director.
Yes.
I was one of the best in the country in terms of performance of the state corporation. And if I could, then what was so difficult about me also making a mark in the political world?
Politics,
And who was going to take that first dip into the whatever to make sure that other girls too, that the doors would open for the other girls and break the glass ceiling? So if I could break the glass ceiling in corporate, I mean, I said, who was
what
going
could
to
stop you?
Yeah, what could stop me?
Yeah.
I was challenged. I was challenged as a woman corporate leader. That yes, what's so different in politics?
What gave you the confidence? You had never tried politics.
I'd never
before.
tried, but
very strong male candidates you were vying against. What gave you the push to go for it?
No. I believed that I could.
Okay.
I could. I mean, I'd done it, and nobody was going to call you to the table. Nobody was going to call you to the table. You had to get yourself to the table. So I said, why not? I mean, I've done it, and I've done so many projects in this community. Let me also go out with my experience and sell myself. And many people did not believe that when you're in corporate, that you could also do it in politics.
In politics, yeah.
But I realized that it is different. When you talk to them and you talk from your heart and believe in what you are going to do and tell them what you're going to do, they believed me. And so I owe it to the people of Kabondo Kasipul that whatever I say, and that is the difference, that whatever you say that you're going to do, if you do it, people begin to believe in you and have confidence in you. That I said I was going to do this, it's done. I said I'm going to do this, and that's what I plan, and I'm going to continue doing to make them see that, yes, even in politics, people actually say the truth, that they can do it. And I am happy that the support that we have got from the Ministry of Gender to support the women in their endeavor, in whatever that they're doing, you know, it makes us even now perform even better. And the head of state, by even launching PHOEBE's book and the Trailblazers,
good step.
and the Trailblazers to be recognized, to be recognized, and the achievement. Look, the story of the women has never been told in the struggle to independence, and that is why this book also is so important to us.
Let's talk about that book briefly.
Yes.
And I know we want to create opportunity for people to look out for it, you know, when it's out. But then, Mama Phoebe, paint a picture for us now that it's out. Tell us a bit about what we should expect in this book. Many people would think at the first thought it's about you and your struggles and your journey, but it's much deeper than that. Tell us a bit about It Is Possible. What have you captured in that book?
I have captured not only my life story, but the story of other women who lived in my time. It was not easy. It was very, very hard to get into a position of leadership where you share leadership with a man. The attitudes were not right in my time. And it actually was very hard to even imagine standing for parliamentary election in 1970s. Grace Onyango did it, but she came from an urban setup. I was coming from a very rural area, and it was more difficult then. But you know, like Eve said, if women will decide to get into position of leadership, political leadership, they will. They will be elected. I'm not as good as some of the people who have been elected now, but because I convinced myself to stand for election, I was elected. My only problem was I only had Karachuonyo constituency, where I was born and brought up, but that constituency had the incumbent was national chairman of KANU. And
so
KANU
he had a very
party.
strong backing.
So it was very difficult. But you know, if I could do it, any other woman can do it. I also believe that political parties have a role to play in this. If political parties will observe the constitutional provision of not more than 2/3, and if they would nominate 1/3 of women to run, those women will be elected, because usually political parties do not fail. They succeed in getting those that they nominate, get elected. And I know that has been one of our biggest problems.
Oh, so
that
the problem begins at the party nominations.
Yeah, it's the party
That's
nomination.
Where the problem for women
That's where
begins.
the biggest problem is.
Okay.
If the parties will nominate women according to the new constitution, there will be no problem. But I'm telling the women, they do not have to wait for affirmative action. Eve has done it. I did it in my time. They will do it. They can get there. They just have to convince themselves that they're equal to the task. And very many women in this country are equal to the task. We've seen lesser men being elected into those positions where women could have actually, if they had decided to stand, would have been elected, would have done very well. So I'm encouraging the women to not wait for affirmative action. Go out there. Make yourself known to that constituency. Work with the people for and you know, the best campaign is the one that starts the day after election. just go there and start campaigning,
as
working
soon as
with
the
the
election
people,
is done.
and really making sure that you reach the hearts of the people, both men and women. People are saying that women are the worst enemies. Women are the best friends of fellow women. True. Maybe at the higher level, because the professions, it might be a little difficult, but at my level, in the village, women are very friendly.
Yeah.
They work together. They support each other. I was supported by women throughout. They brought a lot of food to my home because I didn't have all the finances. And if it were not for the women, perhaps I wouldn't have been elected for the first time.
And
it was
the
them who
second
did it
time
for me.
came.
So women are not enemies of themselves, and women will get there, and they can get there. It's possible for women to stand and get elected in any political seat in this country, in all parts of Kenya.
All right. Mama Phoebe, what are the notable names that we should expect in the book? The people you have interacted with in your journey. You may not name all of them, but when I read that book, what stories do I also expect to
I've
interact
talked about Grace Onyango.
Okay.
Grace was the first woman elected from Nyanza province, and I built from Kenya, and she, she set up her own affirmative action. Like, for example, she got Kisumu Council to agree that when a man dies, the wife takes over and finishes the term. If the wife wasn't well educated, then the daughter, who had received the age of majority, would fit in the father's place. And she got very many women participating in the Kisumu Council because, fortunately or unfortunately, quite a few men died. Quite a few men died, and therefore the women, their wives took over from them.
Okay.
That was very notable in her time. And of course, somebody like Julia Ojiambo. Julia went through a very bad time during the election. Professor Hilary Ojiambo, who was her husband, was very badly hurt because of violence. Now, violence is key. It makes or breaks. And men, not all of them, tend to be violent during election time. And women do not. I did not know how to be violent. Because I gave forth life, I didn't want to destroy life or even hurt life. That's where the women are coming from. So very few women would engage in
violence.
In violence during election. That perhaps is our undoing. But I'm not telling the women to go there and be violent, because at the end of the day, it does not pay. But it's a very, very important issue. I think Kenyans must refrain from violent behavior during elections, because that's where women have failed to get into leadership because of violence that is caused mostly by men. Another thing is the resources. Up till now, women in Kenya have not had the resources that most men have to get into politics. But I'm saying now there are all these possibilities that the Kenya government has put in place. The women can now engage into business and make money for elections, for campaigns. And I believe they will get there. In fact, I am convinced that in the next 2-3 elections, we should have 50-50 representation. But Rwanda has 64 now. And in this region, Kenya has very many well-educated women in all spheres of life. And they should get there and help lead this country. Women are different when it comes to leadership. Their perspective is also different. And I believe Kenya must allow women to get into leadership and support them to get into leadership. Because when you have men and women leading, you get to achieve a lot in a country.
You get a feel of both styles of leadership.
And
I'm coming back to you, Mama Phoebe, in a bit. But then now that you've talked about in the next election, that is 2022, at least as a country, we should have 50-50 representation. And personally, I think that will rely on our ability to keep having these conversations and to keep sharing these stories of success, because women do a lot, but they never really get an opportunity to talk about what they've achieved. And the other thing that we rely on to make the 50-50 representation possible is what the likes of Mheshimiwa are going to achieve with the time that Kenyans have given you. So tell me a bit about what it takes for a woman leader to impact and to add value in a country. What is it that you would describe a powerful woman leader to be like? What is it that you'd advise women leaders like you out there to be able to do in the next 4 years to make sure that by the time we are having this conversation, we are telling Kenyans we want 50-50 representation, we have done our part as women? Tell me about that.
You know very well that the standard of measure for women
Yes.
is different. And it's a lot more higher.
And we are very
And the expectation
harsh.
from community
We're very harsh on that.
is a lot more higher than
Yeah,
that of men.
that's true.
And when you start from that premise, that the standard of measure is higher, you set out to work even harder than ordinarily you would.
Yes.
And that I also learned from my corporate world, that you work extra hard and make sure that first you are visible in whatever you do.
Okay.
But visible positively, that whatever you're doing impacts and people get to know the positive things that you do. So it is important to be visible in whatever you're doing, and what we are doing now, that is one of them. And also in the community that you're serving, that the people actually know what you're doing. Even before I got into this politics, I was already working with women and girls.
Yes.
I was a chairman for Maendeleo ya Wanawake. Maybe you didn't know
Yeah,
that.
the Nyanza chapter.
Nyanza
Yeah,
chapter for Maendeleo ya
just did come
Wanawake.
out, yeah.
So already the name was known. The name was known. On top of that, I was also the founding trustee that is partnering with the ministry to launch Mama Phoebe's book. I was the founding trustee for what is called NEWI. It's a women's initiative in education
Yes.
that actually set out to promote girl education and promote women empowerment as well. So what we were doing in the girl education is that I was all over the schools, talking to girls, encouraging them, working with other professional women, encouraging them to work hard. At that time, women's performance, particularly girls' performance, particularly in Nyanza, was so bad. And we mobilized a lot of the girls, women professionals who had gone to school in Nyanza to be able to go out and encourage the girls to work hard. And in what way would they really work hard if there's nothing that, I mean, if I took you to Nyanza, for instance, you as a professional would talk about your story.
Yes.
This is me, and this is what
This is
I've
my
done.
journey.
This is where I went to school. This is my journey. And they would aspire to want to be like you.
Yes.
Because they know you. They know you're from that home. They know your parents. They know
Yes.
everybody.
They
So
know you.
if so-and-so's daughter could do it, then
What
I too
about
could.
me?
Why not
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
And this actually inspired a lot of girls, and many of them performed better. Confidence levels came up and all that kind of thing. So I'm saying that I already did that. And so even as I was coming in, many may not have seen me, but
something was already happening.
something was already happening. The name was happening. So Mama said it starts on day one. Not that you're going, like you're campaigning and running around and saying that I'm going to run in 2022. Look out for me. I think that's not the way. But starts
Serving
now
people.
by actions of what you're doing. What exactly are you doing? If you're doing small projects with women, do small things around your community so people get to recognize who you are. That is one. Two is about how you manage. You see, like now, if we have resources that are attached to the offices that we do through the ministry and through the CDF and all that, how are you managing those resources? If we are supposed to have the schools build infrastructure, which one is
Yes,
that?
go on.
Yes. What are you doing with the resources? How are those resources impacting, the use of those resources impacting on the community? Are you making good use of the money that you've been given in affirmative action? Are you making good use of the money that you've been given in CDF? Are you making good use, if you're a governor, of the resources that
Yes.
come to you as the leader? And this already, as I said, the standard of measure is higher. So you make sure that these things are running and they are completed. And they are things that can be seen physically, that I have put up this classroom, I have done these roads, I have done this.
So it doesn't matter whether
keep-
you're a politician or not, or whether you have it or the opportunity or not. Begin from where you are.
Yes.
Begin from the resources and the opportunities that you have as a
You have
woman.
as a woman.
And just start writing a story from there. Everything else will fall into place. Yeah?
Let me add
Yeah.
on what Eve have said. Yeah, I would like to say that as women, not just only in politics, but whatever you have been assigned to do or you have decided to do, do it to the best of your ability. No, you must be knowledgeable, you must be professional, so for you to be recognized and the people to earn trust in what you are doing. But what I want them to say more is, let's look at the opportunities that the governments have put in place regarding women empowerment. In particular, let's go back to our homes, because all of us, our empowerment comes from the kind of environment that we grew, where women are not encouraged to come out and perform. They tend to shy away.
Yes.
So I would urge in families, women also encourage their girl child, their boy child, and also let's see, we are not in competition. Women are wired differently, men are wired differently. Even as they are growing, if you give them equal opportunity to be able to maximize their potential, they are likely to grow like that and contribute even when they become adults. So the perspective I want them to bring is, we don't wait as women to become at the middle level so that now we can start looking for empowerment. We women, we have an opportunity to bring our children in a more balanced empowerment, socialized, to know this is not a role for boys only, this is not a role for girls only, but let's see how we complement each other and build that capacity. I would also say it's not only the ministry responsible for gender that is empowering women. Look at the education system. Right from early childhood, the government is putting a lot of resources so that the people have an opportunity for education, because education and training is the make or break for how women are empowered. And when you go out to secondary school, you find now the government is emphasizing right from primary school to go to secondary school, because we know the higher a woman attains education, the better they are able to make a decision regarding their reproductive health, regarding their families, regarding their own health. So I think the opportunity that have been brought by government in terms of education, in terms of technical vocational education, because we are saying now there are no jobs, but we are finding those people with some skills
that can be tapped.
Can be tapped, can secure jobs, as opposed to those who don't have any skill. They've gone to the university, but they have no skill that they can sell or they can be employed. So I think those opportunities should not be looked in isolation. What my ministry is doing, what the larger government is doing through other ministries, opportunities brought by Agenda 4. What can women do in food security? Now we are focusing on that more than ever before. What can women do in universal health care? What can the women do in manufacturing, especially areas of value addition? And then if they do value addition, they are likely to sell their product at a higher profit and also empower themselves economically. So I think let's women wake up, look at the opportunities, but more so to know that they have a role to play in socializing their children, and especially both girls and boys, so that they can develop to full potential and make a contribution in the national development.
Right.
Many times we are told we are doing too much for the girl child now. That criticism has come, and forgetting the boy child.
The boy child is being left behind.
Boy child is being left behind.
How are they going to handle this empowered woman?
Yes, that has become as a
very big question.
But sometimes I tend to think this is an area which is very complex, generally women empowerment. So we can lose gains by saying, oh, we have done so much for the girl child, and the boy child is left out. But I have not seen a mother who want their boy child left behind or their girl child.
They will bring them up.
We want win-win.
Yeah.
So I think let us not be distracted. My ministry has decided to undertake a study, because this is our opinion. People are saying, oh, the boy child is being left behind, but he wants also to do some survey, some study,
and put some figures and facts into it. Put some figures and facts,
so that when we are making policy, it's evidence-based, it's informed by some research, because I do not really believe. But to encourage our parents, don't favor any of the girl or boy. Let everybody be given an opportunity, socialized in a way that they can maximize their potential, and that's how they become a better individual who can contribute to national building as they grow up.
All right.
So it starts right from the day one when somebody is born.
Is born. All right. And begins at home.
And
charity begins at home. That's what they always
and the women
say.
have a bigger role to play.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor, for that.
Let me just add that you don't really have to say that you're getting into politics. Maybe it's not even in your mind at the time when you're doing all these things. how involved are you in the community affairs? Because you find that even in school activities, boards, the women are hardly ever there. Get involved in even school boards. If you are appointed on a school board, take an interest in what is happening. If you are in, let's say, hospital, or you're in some youth program, take an interest in what you're doing. Because I recently remember I had a meeting for the youth, where I was meeting the youth to see how we could support them with a 30% tender, whatever rule, so that within the projects of the CDF, that the youth are actually given, the youth and women, they are given their 30% when we allocated monies for schools. And there were no women. Out of almost 110 youth who came up, because we took 10 per location, there were only less than 10 girls.
Who came up?
Who came up?
That's unfortunate.
Less than 10 girls.
And we're talking about tapping opportunities and taking advantage.
And taking advantage.
Yeah.
So I would encourage them to get out. Get out and reach out for some of these things.
Right.
But I still have no apology really about this thing about the girl. You can see that we are still lagging behind. As women, we are still lagging behind. Even if you look at the cabinet positions, I think we can still do a little bit better. There are a lot more women who can still be appointed. In PSS, there are a lot more women who can still get these positions. So we have to keep on talking about the women, and they have to get out to come to some of these positions so that they can be seen.
You know, it's right. Women always tend to wait to be invited, to be accommodated, to be given.
We are women.
You don't wait. You don't wait to be given. Nobody's going to give you anything for free. You get involved with the community.
In fact, when you're given, you become a flower girl. Because now you will not have influence. You are just given on a silver platter.
You know, when you are invited or given, you do what whoever invited you
wants you to do.
And that is a very big problem. You know, political parties, I want to say, are a big problem. Because where women's advancement, women's issues are concerned, many women politicians would want to go with their political parties. I'm saying there must be a time when women will change course, if need be, and even disagree with their political parties if their policies do not support women leadership. It is not only in this country, it happens all over. And then another thing that is very bad in this country that we need to talk about is negative ethnicity. This also makes it possible for women to get where, good women, to really get where they ought to be. But the issue is women must not wait to be invited. They must go out there and try, and they will be elected if they have the conviction in their own hearts that there is a service that they want to perform for the nation. They will get there and do it.
All right.
We don't have to wait.
It also, you know, reminds me, let's even look at political parties. How many of them are started and founded by women leaders? Very few. And even looking at the positions that women have in these political parties, what exactly are they? How many women do we have in the leadership of political parties? Because I believe by having them there, then they can be able to, you know, talk about these issues, represent women when it comes to the list of nominations and all that. So
my
we need
experience
to also
with political parties in the countryside, they will always give the position of treasurer to a woman.
That's what I'm talking about. What positions do women hold in these political parties? Are they positions of influence? Let's talk about mentorship, because basically what will be happening on Thursday centers around the role of bringing up the gem in the stories of the past so that the women of today can be able to learn from that. And Mheshimiwa, I want you to tell me a bit about whether you are satisfied with what you've been able to do in terms of mentoring young women leaders. Do you feel like we've gotten to a level where you are contented that we've done enough in terms of bringing up the gem like Mama PHOEBE ASIYO and other stories that we've interacted with before? Have we done enough justice to the woman of today to give her and serve her the stories of the past for her to learn from and even interact with them physically? How many young women would get an opportunity to interact with the likes of Mama PHOEBE just physically and sit down and get to ask all those questions that they may be having? Have we done enough as a country to make that happen?
I don't think we've done enough as a country. And that is why this launch of the Trailblazer, as a country, we are talking as a government, as a Trailblazer, a professor maybe might elaborate more on that. And that is why these women that we have today, the 25 who are going to be recognized on Thursday together with the Mama PHOEBE, is a young generation. Do they even know who they are? Do they know what they have done? Have their stories been captured so that these women young women can read and see that it is possible, the title of her book.
Yes.
And that is what is lacking. And that's why I think it's coming up and we are pushing for this agenda so that at the level of the presidency, that they are being recognized, that yes, they did something, but somewhere they were not recognized. And this is the time. They may be old, some of them very old, but at least we've woken up to the realization that they need to be recognized and given some kind of appreciation. Public appreciation that they did something. From here, stories will be captured. I know that it has been done, but not to the level of the presidency,
Yes.
that we are doing it now at the level of the presidency. Their stories have been captured, and they are going to be captured. And going forward, I believe she has already said it, that going forward, this program is going to go on, that every year, women who have achieved, let's tell their story. We
Let's
have to tell their
celebrate and
story.
appreciate.
Yes, let's
Yeah.
appreciate them. And that is the only way, through stories. Remember, even our grandmothers, they told us stories.
Exactly.
And we remember those stories. So
That's
it is
true.
through these stories that we will now, the other women will be able to see, oh, I want to be. But those of us who are lucky enough to have lived at the time of Mama ASIYO, and we've worked with her. I have worked with her. She has actually been my mentor.
Yeah.
I worked with her for a long time. Even when I was in corporate, I did a lot of things with her. And I admired. She inspired me with her humility, first of all, her humility, and yet she was a political leader, one who had flawed great men.
Yeah.
But she didn't have that in her.
The pride was
the
not
pride
there.
was not there. And that is what I would love to see, that there is strength. You don't have to be a man. You don't have to be like a man to be felt in politics. That we look at the PHOEBE ASIYOs, the Grace Ogots, they were gentle, but there was strength in being a woman. And that's what I would like to see, and that's what I would like to be in the end, that I will be graceful like her.
Wow.
And still admired. And still, I mean, look at her at 89,
Yeah.
87.
87?
87, Mama? 87.
She looks good.
87.
She tell us the secret.
That at 87, I'll still be able
She
to
can still
sit.
wake up this early and see your life wherever you're watching.
So this is an inspiration. And if you
Yeah.
read, I mean, you see her, wouldn't you want to be like her?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
That is what
a role
mentorship
model
is all
light.
about.
Yeah.
That's what role modeling is all about. And emulate her life and be like her. And her family remained intact to the end. She just buried her husband the other day. We always heard of the husband to Mrs. ASIYO. That's what we said.
Yeah.
Husband to Mrs. ASIYO.
Her name is that
It
powerful.
was that name, and the name was his, but it was the
she-
husband
she-
to
she-
Mrs.
she owned
ASIYO.
it.
But she held that family together respectfully, and I think that is what, as we go forward as politicians, as women
Let me
politicians,
just add
that
on
we should.
something on mentorship. I think she stands like one of the best mentors we have had in this country. And many people are benefiting from PHOEBE ASIYO. But let's also appreciate, as a country, we have not done very well. But I think there are gains where I've seen older women and people who have made it come together and go to their own school. I mean, their own girls go to their own school to try to talk to the girls and encourage them, especially in the area of sciences and mathematics. But also, we also need, as a country, to appreciate mentorship is relatively a new discipline. It's not a very old thing.
Yeah, it wasn't
but
there.
it was never there. But it's something new that we find that it should be a good tool to make women who aspire to making greater contribution use it. For example, it is very clear you don't even have one mentor throughout the life.
You have
All
several,
of us, we have several
in different
mentors.
spheres of your life.
You listen to PHOEBE ASIYO, she said the role our father, our mother played in taking her to school.
Yes.
Then we could also have another professional mentor.
Yes.
We could have a sideway mentor.
Spiritual,
so I think
in
spiritual
all
mentor.
spheres, yeah.
So what I'm telling women, it is very important to have a very clear image of who you want to be and then try to reach. Because now, whatever is visible in your mindset as a vision of that mentor, then it's likely to happen when you do not, more than when you don't have that vision. Therefore, there are some people who look at PHOEBE ASIYO and say, I want to be like PHOEBE ASIYO. What did it take
For her to
get
be
this,
who
that
she is
level?
today.
So that's why we are having that day on 23rd to recognize trailblazers. Those trailblazers also have a story. And I think one thing that is very clear is when they got to the table, they not just sit back.
They did
They
something.
made a contribution. That's what I would tell women. If you get to a board of directors, If it means that you need to look for that technical knowledge so that you can contribute in that meeting, please go and look in.
So that you are felt.
So that
they
you are
feel
felt
your
at the
presence
table.
and that you're there.
So that you are not
like
just
that.
at the table and you are being given feminine job like serve as tea.
Yeah.
But if you
Say
can
a prayer.
contribute
Or say a prayer.
Say a-
Saying a prayer is important. But then we understand where you're coming
if you have
from.
shortage of, understanding of financial budget and please
Go and learn.
Make a contribution
Wow.
so that
I
you are
like
not
that.
asked. Those who became members of parliament, they are
What
just
have they
numbers, but
done?
what have they
They're-
done?
they're quiet.
Now that also kind of downplays and it brings not a very good image to the men. You can't be a good mentee if you get to the table.
And you sit.
So we women must hold ourselves accountable by making sure we are knowledgeable in the area that we claim to be knowledgeable. Go and read. Look extra courses. Go to the mentors. Ask them, what knowledge do I need in able to be able to contribute when I sit in this table?
Okay.
I would also urge, let us not just look for the senior position. Even a chairman of a kettle dip, a chairman on board of a primary school, a chairman in the church. Look at the churches. Women are the majority. But sometimes they only have the position maybe of secretary, but they can be chairs and make decisions so that they don't sit back and say, we elected them to make decisions for us. It would have been better if we were making decisions and they are shared by everybody within their small environment, in the village, in the churches, in the kettle dip, in the circles. Let us see more women taking up leadership position. We would be a better country, and then they make a contribution when they get that opportunity.
I like that. That's a very important challenge to all women out there. You may not be able to know it all, but you need to learn. You need to show the people that have given you that opportunity that you're being felt, that you're adding value, that you're actually contributing, that you're making an impact in the opportunity that they've given you. So I think that's a very strong challenge. But then again, Mama Phoebe, mentorship also calls for one to accept where they made mistakes. And I want a young woman who is watching you this morning to listen to you right now. Talk to her, tell her what mistakes or challenges you personally went through that you'd not like a woman of today to go through the same thing you went through. So that mentorship is all about learning from the mistakes of them that were ahead. Tell us a bit about some of your own.
It's society's expectation of the place of a girl in society that makes some girls really remain where they are. But in societies where a girl is encouraged and is expected to do much better than the girls who had come before her, then they'll get there and do it. I would appeal to the parents mostly to help the daughters feel comfortable, acceptable, and also made aware that they can do whatever boys are able to do. It starts at the family level. And I think fathers and mothers have a very key role to play in this, but also in schools. There are mixed schools at a primary school level, and sometimes teachers make that mistake of, but these are only girls. Really, teachers have a very big role to play in the lives of our girls and boys. Let them not appear to discriminate against the girls or to always refer to the girls like those who are weak